Singing Hello, my dear friends. Let me take you on some nice holidays today. So, take off your mind from your stuff and look at this wonderful dessert, which we had in the Palmenhaus, in this beautiful garden at Schloss Nymphenburg. And this is in Munich, actually, because we had some time before our flight to Scotland, and we checked out this palace, which has really crazy beautiful rooms, and also a high amount of art, beautiful furniture, fancy, artsy, crazy stuff, and exaggerated furniture, and all the many portraits of the noble men, noble women, but also this beautiful gallery of beauties, which king, I forgot his name, the crazy one, did. He also had very poor young women portrayed, because he just wanted to make this beauty gallery with beautiful young women, and I thought this was very special and awesome, that the poor but beautiful women had their portraits taken. So this is Edinburgh, the view to Newtown from Edinburgh Castle. This is one of the cool houses. It was called the Little Manhattan of the medieval times because people had buildings with several floors before anybody else, I think. It was just so crowded that people made these huge houses to live in, which was very special then in the medieval times. This is Adam Smith, obviously. Also, the famous David Hume was from Scotland. I think he was from Glasgow, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the castle, also with Mr. Wallace as in stone. This is the cemetery for soldier dogs. This is the big cannon. And this is actually another place, the Surgeon Hall Museum. They had all these watchtowers because they needed to protect the graveyards from people stealing bodies and selling them to the surgeons. Now this is the biggest monument for a writer in the world, as we were told. This is for Mr. Scott. There was a little festival thing going on with all the different nations from the European Union presenting themselves. Here's the park where I could see all the interesting buildings that I don't know how to properly describe, but you can look them up. So we were very lucky with the weather in Scotland. My husband actually got burned by the sun one day. This is Princess Street. It was built in the 18th century, I believe, and it was a huge step forward for the city. There was some kind of parliament member. By the way, this is the parliament, and we took a look inside as it is open to the public at all times. We also had some very good Malaysian curry This is near Calendar, the Wallace Memorial. We went hiking there, and I zoomed in a lot. We will see the Wallace Memorial further in from a near distance. This is a high point called the Craigs or something. Some loch that I don't remember the name of. And this is the beginning of the Highlands, basically. I really liked the soft shaping of the hills and mountains, and I love the sunshine as it glides over them. This is a memorial that has to do with the Queen's anniversary. This is how it properly looks on a photo taken by myself. There were different rivers, creeks I think they're called, right? And we met a few people. There were no sheep there. Now we go to Stirling Castle. Now this is the Wallace Memorial again. We didn't climb it, but this is the view from Stirling Castle. And this is the famous Mr. De Bruce, I think. He's one of the national heroes of the Scots. This is Stirling Castle itself. It contains different buildings. This is a guy who took his kid like a dog. This is a cool crown hall or something in which there were many feasts, and it reminds you of Game of Thrones, of course. I also spotted a queen. These are some cannons, as you can see, and there were quite some stone carvings that looked a little creepy there. There's a little chapel also in the castle site. This yellow building is where the big hall is. We got some sandwiches there. Those of you who recognize this unicorn from the artwork of the awesome movie The Last Unicorn. I personally love that movie, and I was very excited to see this tapestry, and I shall read some information about those beautiful pictures that were woven. I will read to you what the museum had to tell about them. Today, we know the unicorn is a mythical beast, but at the time when the tapestries were woven, many people believed in them. Mysterious and majestic creatures, they had special powers and symbolic meaning that would have been clearly understood by the audience of the day. Over time, as more people learned to read and write, visual imagery became less important as a way of communicating, and the meaning of much of the symbolism is no longer known. The 7 Hunt of the Unicorn tapestries were designed to be hung in a sequence around a room. They tell the story of the hunt and capture of a unicorn, but they also contain hidden meanings that can be read as both a religious story and as a medieval love story. There are many mysteries surrounding the Hunt of the Unicorn tapestries. We do not know from whom they were made, although the initials A and E are woven into all 7 tapestries. There are also questions about whether all the tapestries are from the same set. The first and last have different style, as does the 5th, which survives as 2 fragments. Nothing is known of the tapestries during the first 180 years of their existence. It is not until 1680 that there is a record of them belonging to a wealthy French duke. For the next 100 years, the tapestries remained in his family's possession until they were looted during the uprisings of the French Revolution. They were recovered in the 1850s and later purchased from the family by John D. Rockefeller Jr., who gifted them to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Today the tapestries remain on display at the cloisters in New York. The start of the hunt. 5 huntsmen set out with their hounds towards a forest. The 3 men wearing plumed hats on the left are noblemen. The 2 more simply dressed men on the right are in charge of the hunting hounds. The man in the foreground, holding his dogs on the leash, awaits the signal to start the chase. It does not look like he will have long to wait, for in the distance, beckoning through the trees, is the scout. He has spotted the unicorn. Let the hunt begin. The symbolism. Christ will be called the son of unicorns, for the unicorn is irresistible in might and unsubjected to man. Saint Basil. By the time the hunt of the unicorn tapestries were woven, the idea that the unicorn symbolized Christ was well established. This tapestry represents not only the start of the hunt, but also the pursuit of Christ, the unicorn, by his enemies, the hunters. Both this tapestry and the last one in the series have floral backgrounds in a style known as mille fleurs, literally meaning 1,000 flowers. In actual fact, there are near to 40 different types of flowers and trees. Look for the cherry and oak trees, as well as daffodils, irises, carnations and bluebells. The unicorn is found. Here the hunting party has tracked the unicorn to its lair. The man at the left-hand side who is pointing towards the unicorn, the limerer whose job it was to find the unicorn. Behind the fountain, standing with his finger raised and wearing a fine plumed hat, is the master of the hunt. The whole group stands waiting for the unicorn to run, for only then can they give chase. The unicorn kneels and dips his horn into the stream to purify the water so that the other animals can drink. The symbolism. Many of the animals and birds in this tapestry have symbolic meaning. The male and female pheasants perching on the fountain are thought to symbolize human love. In front of the fountain, the lions, panther and stag are all symbols of Christ and are associated with love, fidelity and courage. By contrast, the hyena leering from beneath the orange tree is a symbol of the devil and man's evil. The overall religious message of this tapestry is that as the unicorn purifies the water, so Christ redeems man by taking on the sins of the world. The unicorn leaps from the stream. Now the hunt is in full swing. The dogs are unleashed, and 2 hunters sound their horns. The unicorn, which has been pursued through the forest, has jumped into a stream in an effort to lose its attackers. But the tactic has failed, for the dogs have followed, and the huntsmen surround the unicorn on all sides. Blood flows from a wound on its back. In among all the commotion, ducks flap in the stream as the hunters move forward, thrusting their spears. Any other creature would be easily captured in such a situation. But the invincible unicorn nimbly leaps the stream and evades the hunters. The symbolism. All of the hunt of the unicorn tapestries are unusual in the accuracy of the plants and trees depicted. Their designer clearly had a detailed knowledge of botany, correctly placing plants and trees where they would occur in nature. In this tapestry, the water-loving yellow flag irises are shown next to the river's edge. The birds are also shown accurately, a mallard and a domestic white duck flap on the water. 2 partridges peep out from behind a corn marigold, and swimming along in the river is an orange-breasted bittern. If any of these birds held symbolic meaning, it is no longer known today, although the partridges are sometimes associated with the devil in early literature. The unicorn at bay. The unicorn fights back as the hunters close in and aim their spears, but the unicorn will not submit. It kicks out with its hooves and gores one of the hounds with its horn. The older man, near the top left corner of the tapestry, is bringing food and drink to the hunting party. His companion, who holds an axe in his hand, has just felled a beech tree, perhaps as firewood. In the background, the master of hunt, shown by his plumed hat, surveys the scene. The symbolism. Look carefully at the hunter with the horn on the left of the scene. Hanging from his belt is a scabbard, which protects his sword, with the words Ave Regina Caelorum, meaning Hail Queen of the Heavens. To the medieval audience, this figure would have been easily identified as the Archangel Gabriel, who announced to Mary that she would give birth to a son named Jesus. By sounding his horn, Gabriel announces to the viewer of the tapestry the coming of Christ, the Savior. The mystic hunt of the unicorn. This tapestry, which exists only as 2 fragments, differs slightly from the others in style and maybe from another set. The unicorn was thought to be so fast and fierce that neither man nor beast could capture it. Only a maiden could tame it. Here the hunters have given up the chase and have resorted to ruse and cunning. They have brought a maiden to enchant the unicorn and allow the hunters to capture it. If you look closely at the unicorn's mane, you can see the maiden's hand resting there. The symbolism. The story of the capture of the unicorn by a maiden was a popular subject in Christian art of the 15th century. In such scenes, which became known as the mystic hunt of the unicorn, the maiden was represented by the Virgin Mary. The red and white roses are symbols of the Virgin Mary. The apple tree symbolizes the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The unicorn is killed and brought to the castle. The unicorn appears twice in this tapestry. The top left corner, the unicorn has been captured and is about to be killed. The master of the hunt stands behind the unicorn to deal the death blow, while companions stab its throat and shoulder with their spears. A huntsman sounds his horn to signal the unicorn's death. In the next scene, the dead unicorn is carried upon a horse and brought to the castle gate, where the lord and lady of the castle wait. The unicorn's horn is the prize of the hunt and belongs to them. In medieval times, people thought that the unicorn's horn possessed miraculous powers that would save anyone who drank from it from disease and poison. This tapestry symbolizes Christ's death on the cross. If you look closely at the oak wreath that is tied around the dead unicorn's neck, you can see that it has sprouted thorns, symbolizing the crown of thorns which Christ wore on the cross. The oak and holly trees depicted in the tapestry are associated with myths of death and resurrection, and the castle itself may represent heaven. The unicorn in captivity. The indestructible unicorn is alive again, tied to a pomegranate tree. It sits within an enclosure, captive but content. The fact that the unicorn, previously killed, is now alive would not have seemed strange in medieval times, as this tapestry was not meant to be viewed as the final scene of a real hunt. Instead, it is purely symbolic. Look for bluebells, carnations, columbines, and a dandelion in this tapestry. Here the unicorn represents the risen Christ in the Garden of Paradise, the final chapter in the story of Christ the unicorn. But there is another hidden meaning to this tapestry. It tells a medieval love story. In the love story, the unicorn is the lover and the maiden is his beloved. The hunter's love, tied to a pomegranate tree, which symbolizes marriage and fertility. The unicorn has been struck by love and bears the wounds on his back. And here we are back at Stirling Castle, the outside, which is really nice to hike a little bit and walk around. Very cute, awesome view. And here's another one of my panorama pictures that I took. And this is to show you on the right that there's a little cemetery outside the stone walls. This is the view from a little back. And now we are getting to the Isle of Skye with a lot more broom, which is the yellow, very nice smelling stuff that you will see as we go along. And this is just a random spot where we found some nice views on the island, on a little bridge. We saw people taking pictures there and also got off the car. We took a rental car to get to the Isle of Skye in the northwest. It is on the inner Hebrides, do you call it that? And there are loads and loads of sheep on the Isle of Skye. Lots of small little lambs. And this is Talisker Bay. We also visited the Talisker distillery. It's the only distillery on the Isle of Skye. But it was pretty technical and not as good as the Tomatin one. So can't recommend the Talisker distillery. The Talisker whiskey is awesome though. Here's the yellow broom. And Talisker Bay. Oh no, this is on our right there. With some cute sheep. You have these one-track roads all over the island. Awesome rocks and views all over the place and nice hiking ways. And now we arrived in Talisker Bay on the beach, which has a lot of white and black sand for some reason. And some birds flying around, doing their thing, sitting around actually. And the sand, it does the most beautiful, it creates these patterns that are different patterns depending on where you go on that beach. They're very beautiful in my opinion. Now this is the Old Man of Store. It's very high to get there. It's very windy. At least it was on that day. and it's a high rock that looks cool. There are many of those rocks around the island, and actually when we got up there it started raining, so we headed down, and it was really hard. The wind was very hard, and so the rain, it was like a million injections into the face. Now this is Portree, the kind of capital of the Isle of Skye, where we had a bed and breakfast. This is the little harbour of Portree, and we had a nice dinner for our wedding anniversary. It was actually the 3rd, and I think I can't remember the name of the hotel, but it was had a very nice view on the bay. This was at another restaurant where we ate. I found this to look really cool. Those glasses swirling around. And this is, I guess it's from... Oh, it's at the Talisker distillery, actually. I just filmed how that's the distillery, and I just filmed how it looked, what it looked like. Also, I really loved the wonderful views all over the island to the Outer Hebrides, the islands which are on the outer western end of Scotland. Actually, I want to mention that anyone that we met, the Scottish people, were really, really nice and warm and welcoming to us, although there are quite a lot of Germans in Scotland, which we didn't like that much because we just want to get away and meet real Scottish persons like this one on our holidays, obviously. On this ride to Loch Ness from the island, we heard a Gaelic radio station, so I decided to leave you to it and hear a little bit of the original footage audio. Later on we would sing along with made up words to this melody. Roads are not always the best, but it didn't matter because, I don't know, it's much rougher in the Alps that we Germans know before that, so it's all just very soft. Also, the ground is very soft. Oh, this is me in the Tomadin wash thing with all the good whiskey in the distillery, and This is Nessie actually. This is a little abandoned house in the cemetery, I believe. Now we're getting to Castle Urquhart. Yes, that's it, by the Loch Ness. And it was destroyed many times. They don't actually know what it looked like originally. And now I just want to leave you to the Loch Ness to fall asleep to. And thank you so much for watching and listening. See you in the next video.